This tutorial is going to cover two simple but often tricky aspects of the camera in Blender. Firstly, how to make a chosen camera. I say chosen, can be selected. It could just be the camera you want to have be the active camera. How can you make that active? And secondly, how can you put a video or moving image into the camera as a guide? For instance, when you're matching a CG movie set made in here, Blender, to live action footage. If you already know how to activate a camera, you can skip to the video time given below, the video window, for the section on how to add a movie to your camera. But you might want to watch this first section anyway, since there may be a tip that you don't know about, especially as the interface has changed recently. I'm using Blender 2.90 for this recording, by the way. Okay, let's start with activating the camera. This is a scene from a Mediterranean, possibly Los Angeles garden, and it's got three cameras in it, and you can see that when I go to the overhead view, the plan view. There we are. 1, 2, 3. And currently, as we look at it, we can see that this one is active, and you can see that because of the tab. See this tab in the top here, this tab is orange. Now the thing is, say you, let's just have a quick look at the view. So the view from that one is like that, which is fine. As you notice, you can see the scene around the edge, but this inside the orange box is what you're actually going to see when you render it. Now, I've just middle clicked so as to come out of that, and so I'm moving around the scene again. We decide we want to see it from another view, from this camera. So you might think, well, I'll right click on there. Well, you can right click all you like, but unfortunately you can't activate the camera by right clicking on there, which is a pity in my opinion. It would make life a lot easier. Nor double clicking nor anything else. It's not going to work, and if you're not careful you'll do what I just did then, and you made the whole patio or garden paving stones get selected by mistake, so just be careful of that. So the next thing is, well, okay, I'll go over to the outliner. Here we are in the outliner, and you can see I'm selecting them all right, and there's another camera. Here's our third camera here, selecting them, but as you can see, I'll go back to, say, this one, the second one. I am most definitely not, that is not the active camera, and so if I press 0, see, I get the original camera 1, that's this one here. So I think the outliner hasn't helped us. Well, actually the outliner is going to help us, because if you see these little green icons here, if you click those, and as you see now, that makes the camera active. So now we can see through this camera. And you do that, the easiest way of doing that is by pressing 0 on the number, on the number keypad. So that's 0 to see that. So now when we click on this camera, we've gone back to camera 1, camera 2, and there we are, camera 3, the side view of the table, set for afternoon drinks. So that's pretty helpful. Before I make one other point, I wanted to just mention that here you see the entire area, as I mentioned, round the around the rendered area of camera. You may have noticed that when I switched to the second camera, it was all black. If this is what you want, it's really useful. If you come to a camera and find this, or you find yourself in a situation where somehow it's all black and you don't want that, then the answer is you go to the camera tab and you go down here to Passepartout, meaning pass everywhere, and you unclick it, and lo and behold, now you can see all the rest of the scene. If you only want to sort of see some of the background, then you go to the same Passepartout, and you can see here I've made this 0.8, so this is an opacity control. So you do this and you get, even with Passepartout clicked, checked, you can still see everything now. And if you set it to 1, on this opacity slider, it's completely black. So I'll set this back to 8, and I will switch the other one, Passepartout, back on. And as I say, the Passepartout is switched off on this one. Whoops, I haven't clicked it correctly. There we are, that one there. So if I switched it on, you see it would all go black. So there is one other way that you can select the camera if you want to, and that's you go to this scene properties here in the properties editor, which is this one, and there's a drop down. Now if you had really a lot of cameras, this actually might be easier than going up to the outliner. But anyway, the point is it's another way of doing it. Now if you say that you've got this camera active and you've selected it, you can make the different cameras active, and you won't jump to the view through them unless you've already pressed 0, or if I now press 0. So if I press 0 now, as you saw before, and click between the cameras, we're jumping to the view through the camera. If on the other hand, I'm middle clicking to and starting to orbit here, if you are not looking through the camera, then you can make the different cameras active all you like. And this could be useful, say you were back in plan view again. If you were trying to sort things out or get an overview of things, you could see now I'm going around and making the cameras active like that. But if I just want to select them, I do that. But notice as I change the selection, this is not changing which camera is active. So I hope that's helpful, because it can be a really irritating thing trying to get the camera to be active if you don't know these ways or tips or tricks. Now, the second half of this tutorial is how to bring a movie or film or video into a flat plane or background plane within the camera, so that when you look through the camera you will see a film or an image if you choose, but I want to show you a film or a video because we're trying to match the camera, we're trying to match this background to our live action footage. So what you want to do is bring your live action footage in, because you need to see how your characters, how your actors move around the scene, so that you can get it'll help you with the match and make sure all the action is contained. And the way you do that is I'm going to make actually a new camera for now, and you'll see why in a minute. Here we are, camera, new, and it's going to come in at the world 0. So what I'm going to do is, so there's our new camera right there. I'm going to make it active, don't have to for this, but I'm going to press N to bring up this panel of important data which tell you things about the camera and how to control it. So here's our new camera, which, as I said, you can't see because it's coming at world 0, which is at the origin down here. So I'm going to bring it up, and the easiest way I think to bring it up is to do that. So there it is finally, and I'm going to rotate it because it's pointing down. Quite why it comes in pointing down, I don't know, but anyway, there it is. I've rotated it, and I will move it a bit. There we are, and I'll move it over a bit, so it's slightly different from the first camera. Doesn't really, well, it matters from the point of view of this tutorial because it'll just be easier to see that it's different. So I'm going to come over there and come over here, and let's just see where we are. So it's a slightly higher shot. It'll probably be looking through those trees, so we'll immediately know that it's a different shot. So I'm going to rotate it around the Z-axis. Notice how I always manage to go in the opposite direction. And this one's active, so as the newly created camera is active, so now I'm going to look through it, and oh, well, there we are, that's actually not bad, so I'm just going to tilt down a bit. And yeah, well, that's quite a nice shot. So there we are, and it's different from all the others, you can see that. So how to get a movie in there so that you can see the action playing out over it? Well, the way to do it is you've got it selected, and in this case active, but selected is what you need. As you can see that, because if I select a different camera, I get different information. Anyway, so that's it. So it's a slight puzzle there. It comes in as camera.003, and there it just says camera. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I am quite sure this is how you get the background image in. First, you click background images here down in the little camera icon. And then you might think, well, where's the video? Where's the add video? Well, don't worry. You just click add image, and now you get image or movie clip. So there we are. So let's go and find a movie clip. And unlike some of the other parts of the interface, you don't have a little icon here to click open. You actually have to go down here and open it from there. And here is where we're going to go. And this is a recent scene I was opening. It's pretty huge. This was shot in a GH5S in pretty high quality at 4K. So these are fairly gigantic files, which is what you'd have in real life. So I'm going to pick this slightly smaller one. It's only 3 gigs. That's another thing. So if you don't see it, it's because this is set to back. Sometimes you want it back, so it means it's behind all this lot. So it's there, but you can't see it, which is not a great deal of help. So in this case, you click to go front, and now you can see it. Now there's a really important point here. You can see it, and that's fine. You can see it's moving. The image is moving around there, and you notice the opacity, which I'll come to in a second. It's half, right? So this is all great, but if your movie comes in at 0, for instance, or if you nudge it or press play for some reason, and you get to the end of your clip, it will just run off the end. Now I can't make it do it, but you saw what it was happening just then. Not quite sure why it won't do it anymore. But let's go to this end, which will definitely work. So here we are. Frame 1668 is the last one, and if it goes on to frame 1669, you'll get that magenta effect, which, as you will probably know, usually means can't find the information, can't find the data, and that often means can't find the file. So you think, somehow it's lost the file, has it? So we'll just go back here, and you go back and you think, well, look, there's the file, and it's all right. What's happened to my movie? What's happened to my video? And that is the answer. That's what's happened to it. So as soon as you click back, you can use the arrow keys. As soon as you come back off either of the end stops, you will get your movie back. But that can be pretty puzzling if you don't know about it, and you can spend a long time searching for what's happened to your film when it's there all the time. And don't forget, speaking of it's there all the time, if you click this off, it'll go. So you just have to be aware of that. So there, make sure that stays clicked. And then the last point here is the opacity. So again, if the opacity is set to 0, you won't see it. It's there, but you just can't see it. And there it is, fully full opacity, and it's completely, of course, obliterating the scene behind it. And you can see our marvelous green screen, which, despite the fact that it is hardly a Hollywood level green screen, actually works pretty well. We've pulled the key in Fusion. Can do it in Blender, but we happen to be using Fusion. Anyway, so there we are. So you might set it to about there, so that but you can change that to whatever level you like. So just remember, though, that the camera must be active, otherwise you won't see it. So now I've gone back to camera 1, and that, in fact, just to show you, this process has already been done. Clearly they're flying through the air, so that needs adjusting, but that's the whole point. You will bring them down, match them into the scene is supposed to take place on the flagstones here at the front, and all the same things apply. Down here, that's the opacity is slightly higher, so you can take it down a bit lower if you wanted to, a bit higher, to make it more visible. So I hope that's helped and demystified and removed some of the pitfalls in trying to add a movie to your camera, which is an incredibly useful thing to be able to do.